give everyone a bit of background on our study, emotional intelligence is defined as a set of skills that contributes to the appraisal or perception, the expression, as well as the regulation of emotions within oneself and in others. Emotional intelligence is characterized by 4 different branches or dimensions, so to say. The perception or appraisal of emotions using a series of verbal and nonverbal cues, understanding how emotions actually can differ across different contexts and individuals, the ability to use emotions to then facilitate thought, make decisions, and problem solve, and lastly, the ability to regulate your own emotions in different contexts. So emotional intelligence, as you can expect, is also significantly related to a series of workplace, school-based, as well as interpersonal outcomes. More recently, however, researchers have also focused on cultural intelligence, or CQ, which is defined as the ability to function effectively across different cultural contexts, especially when they differ drastically from one's own, and predicting similar outcomes within the workplace, the school setting, as well as in a series of interpersonal outcomes as well. Recent research has thus, collectively speaking, have called for some simultaneous investigation of both emotional and cultural intelligence together, especially to better understand how these different intelligences also then predict more harmonious interpersonal relationships. And so our study really seeks to address that gap, in addition to addressing how emotional and cultural intelligence might actually differ across a series of individual level characteristics, as well as a series of demographics, or who you are, so to say, and what you come to the table with. So we decided to pose 2 research questions for our study. The first is, how do individual level characteristics such as social dominance orientation, socioeconomic conservatism, grit, empathy, ethnic identity, and life satisfaction, I know that's like a whole lot of things, but that's down there, how do those characteristics predict emotional and cultural intelligence? And then the second research question, how does that prediction differ across a series of demographic groups? So does who you are sort of change that picture in the first place? So preliminary analyses suggested that, based on a series of correlations and in line with existing research, emotional intelligence was positively correlated with empathy, grit, and life satisfaction, and that's in line with the literature. Contrary to existing research, however, the study found a positive correlation between emotional intelligence and social dominance orientation, as well as socioeconomic conservatism. We then decided to take this one step further and to actually investigate which demographic groups differed significantly from one another on emotional and cultural intelligence, and ran a series of one-way ANOVAs and post-hoc tests controlling for type 1 error using the Bonferroni correction. And we found significant between-group differences across 3 of our demographic groups. So across the board, individuals with higher education levels tended to also score higher in cultural intelligence. And across the board also, females tended to outscore males on both empathy and social dominance orientation. The former is supported by the literature, but the latter is also a novel finding, since we know that males tend to outscore females in social dominance orientation. And finally, with regards to ethnicity and country of residence, people of color living inside and outside of the United States tended to score higher than whites living in the United States, significantly at the PO5 level, the 0.5 level, on a series of ethnic identity and cultural intelligence subscales as well. So by showing that emotional and cultural intelligence might actually differ significantly so depending on who you are and on a series of demographic and individual characteristics, I hope that future interventions within the work and school settings will really take this into account as well, moving forward to further the field of emotional intelligence. And now I'll turn it over to Aya, who will speak about a second study that we conducted of another application of emotional intelligence.